Now, Sammy, let's move on to our next topic for tonight's show. Utes in the NFL. Now, we haven't been able to watch any Utah players thus far, but we have been able to watch some of our former players, our alumni in the NFL, and there have been some impressive performances. So let's start off with our very own Jalen Johnson. Sammy, how's he been doing so far?
Jalen Johnson is proving yet again that he is one of the best corners that Utah has produced. He's so good. So as of right now, he's had 10 total tackles. 8 of them were solo. He's had 5 pass breakups, including the game winner against Detroit in week 1. Jalen, lockdown corner. He looks good. He has his moments where he looks like a rookie and he has a couple of mistakes, but at the same time, it looks like he made the seamless transition from college to the pros.
You're completely correct there, Sammy. And this is someone that we had talked about in previous shows. We had a segment where we had ranked some of the guys that were drafted, and we both had him as a steal, and that has continued to be true. We're only 2 weeks in, but so far Jalen is among Pro Football Focus's highest graded rookie through 2 weeks, and is actually amongst the top 6 of all at his position in the entire league. He's already fit in seemingly. He already looks like a seasoned vet. He's making wise decisions, and to be able to already break up 5 passes and to have that many tackles where 8 of them were solo in the NFL, which is, college football is great, but this is the NFL. This is the big leagues. He is performing at a very high level. And like we both said, Sammy, this guy was an absolute steal for the Chicago Bears.
Bears fans are going to be really happy with Jalen. Jalen is a lockdown corner, no fly zone, one of the best. So good. Bears fans, if you're watching, you guys got a steal on that one.
They for sure did. Now, let's move on to our next player, Sammy. One of my all-time favorites, potentially my all-time favorite, Zach Moss. What's he done so far for the Bills?
48 yards so far this season. His first career touchdown happened in week 1. It was a receiving touchdown, which not something you would expect from him at this point. Like I expected his first touchdown to be a rush, whether a short distance or just breaking something off and going 40 plus yards. He has that 16 yards reception. He's looking pretty good. I think he's working up there in Buffalo, and he looks really good too.
Yeah, and on the offensive side of the ball, I think coming in as a rookie, and especially a rookie running back, it's very much dependent on the play calls and the quarterback to decide to throw, obviously throw the ball to you, and then obviously decide to hand it off. So I think it'll take a little bit more time for us to really see what Zach is capable of doing, but it's a very encouraging start for him. It was great to see him score a touchdown in his first game, and to also see that he's willing to catch the football, to come in after he's had an amazing career at the University of Utah, broken records, the all-time leading rusher, scored a ton of touchdowns running the ball, that he's willing to run some routes, catch some footballs, and score some touchdowns that way. I think that's very telling of his character and also his willingness to be a team player, which is fantastic.
Yeah, seeing him catch the ball was not something that we saw a lot of at Utah. We would see it occasionally, like the dump-off pass or a bubble screen or something like that. But to see him running routes and lining up in the slot, just doing stuff that we didn't see him do at Utah is so refreshing to see. And I think that, he's going to have a really good career, whether he finishes it in Buffalo or he ends up finishing it for some other team, but he's going to have a very, very good career. He looks really good. And if he can stay healthy, the NFL, I don't know what anyone's going to do. He's so hard to tackle.
Yeah, but it's just going to be development, and hopefully Buffalo realizes what they have. I think they do. But he's just got to keep doing these sorts of things, being willing to only take a couple snaps, a game, but to make the most of them, and then to be willing to say, hey, I'm open, throw me the football, I'll catch it for you. Good things from Zach Moss. Moving on to Tim Patrick. So far, 6 receptions for 53 yards this season. What have you liked that you've seen so far from Patrick?
He's really stepping up. Denver's suffering, like most NFL teams, from an injury bug right now, and Tim is stepping up and he's making some big catches, and he's making catches in moments where it counts. He's a consistent dude. Like, not a lot of people like saw him getting to where we're at, like getting to where he's at right now, but he is very consistent. He's very good. I love Tim Patrick. I think he's fantastic. So I would expect him to make a run for probably he might be pushing that like all-time like leading receiver at Denver, depending on how things shake out with injuries and their quarterback situation and whatever happens there. But I think he has a good shot to be one of Denver's go-to guys.
Yeah, a common theme that I'm noticing here as we talk about these Utes in the NFL is these guys step up when their number's called. Mm-hmm. And guys that maybe wouldn't be getting as much time or not as much that maybe weren't noticed as much, when their number's called, they step up and they're playing to the level that the coach is expecting them to do. But we'll touch on that a little bit more with one of the players that we'll discuss here in a minute. But the next player to talk about, Marcus Williams. Sammy, does this one taste okay to you for what he did in week 1?
It doesn't, but as a Buccaneers fan, it was not fun to watch. But as a Utah fan, I loved it. I will always root for Utes no matter what team they play on, even if they're playing against my Buccaneers. It sucked to see him pick off Tom Brady, but at the same time, I was like, yes, Marcus, you go. Like, that was great. But also, he's had 10 tackles this season, 7 solo, 3 assisted. Marcus is great as a safety. I love him. He's a hard hitter. He's a ball hawk. He's so good. He can find that ball and he can snatch it out of the air. Like, it was depressing to watch him pick off Tom Brady, but at the same time, the Utah fan in me and the Utah sports journalist in me was like, woo.
If anybody's going to pick off Tom, they better be a Utah alumni, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. But how has Marcus looked to you so far in this season?
Solid. For me, one of the most notable statistics for corners and safeties, guys defending on the defensive side of the ball is solo tackles. And for him to have 7 already of 10 is really impressive to me, because you got to know how to tackle somebody. And that's not an easy thing to do in the NFL. Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, these guys do not go down easy. And so I'm just really impressed with those solo tackles and the strength and tenacity that he's showing, and also the how he's reading the football. I mean, obviously, to pick off the great Tom Brady, that's an achievement. But as well to read the offense, to know where the ball's ending up, and to make sure that you're there to stop them from moving forward. It speaks volumes to the kind of player that Marcus is.
He's great. And on the topic of safeties, I know this is someone that we both had as a steal in a couple weeks ago, but Julian Blackmon. Let's talk about him. So, Cole, how has Julian been doing so far?
I love Julian. I think he's just fantastic. One of my all-time favorite defensive players for the University of Utah, and not just because he does Michael Jackson moves on the sidelines. So he has 2 tackles. So an injury occurred on his team. He was then put into to fill in, right? This is not, Julian wasn't planning for Blackmon to start, but an injury occurred. He stepped in. In that game this last weekend, 2 tackles, 2 broken up passes, and one of those broken up passes he tipped. That led to a teammate interception. And to really summarize how he's done so far, it's a quote from his coach. And coach said, "We're obviously very high on Julian. He showed everything that we wanted and expected to see. But we had that expectation that he could step into that role." So they know, Sammy, that Julian Blackmon was a steal. the guy is already stepping up. Like I mentioned earlier, just a common theme that I've seen from our Utes is they play to the level that's expected, regardless of how long they've been in the game, and a lot of times it's difficult situations. You know, it's hey, we have an injury, you're in the game, go make something happen.
Yeah, and especially that people didn't know if he was going to start. Like he was on the IR for a little bit of time because of that ACL injury, but the fact that he was able to be thrown into this game for the Colts and lead like have a pass breakup that leads to an interception is mind-blowing. I love that. Like Kyle Whittingham and his staff prep these guys to be ready to step in at any given moment. Next man up. That next man up mentality is not something that leaves them when they graduate the University of Utah. And it's clear that these guys are taking it to the next level.